Hello to you all. Great to be here in Hong Kong. And I would like to tell you today a story about the tree of knowledge and, oh, wait a minute, too fast, and the tree of life. We really have a lot to learn, and it already starts with the earlier story about the Bible and the tree of knowledge and the mistakes we've been making. And this is actually one of the big mistakes, the energy that we are using today here in this air-conditioned room with all these lights is still coming from fossil sunshine, and that is really the key. I learned a lot in the forest. I learned a lot from Uche, my very first orangutan. She's about to give birth to her third baby out in the jungle now, and from her friends. And I really understood that these orangutans are so much better than us humans because they live in balance with their environment. And we humans are really deteriorating our planet at an increasingly fast rate, which is very, very threatening. So knowledge is really the key to survival. And those orangutans are truly thinkers. And they are not just animals out there. They are truly beings. If you look into the face of this orangutan, Bujang, do you see an animal, or do you, like me, see a person there? There's a lot going on behind those eyes. And the skills that these orangutans have are truly incredible. Just imagine how they have to move through the forest canopy, that every time they grab another branch, they have to find out, will that branch carry my weight? Yes or no? Will it go into the right direction? Will it bring me to the fruit trees? Which fruit tree will be fruiting at what time? And people don't realize it. So I tried to develop techniques how people could experience it, what it takes. Try to imagine if you were that orangutan. Will that branch hold my weight? And will it swing far enough to get me to the next branch? And will it go into the right direction? And perhaps I've been just grabbing a branch filled with dangerous ants or a snake or poisonous ivy, etc., etc. So the knowledge is really the key to survival in the forest. These orangutan orphans forgot how to do the real climbing, how to find the food up there. And it seems that with humans, it's also very much the same. Children seem to think that chicken meat just comes from factories. They have no idea what farms are anymore. We get so remote. We are going into our own specializations without realizing the bigger picture. So we can make massive, impressive tools like the Hadron Collider here, the largest machine ever made by humans. But it's not just us humans. There's other orangutans, even here, joking around, setting up a hat and amusing his friends. And these tools to brush their teeth, to drink. So the knowledge to survive in that forest is not just for us humans. It is as much with all the other rest of nature. And nature really knows best. This little pink flower on the left side is a Fordia splendissima. Don't care about the name. But I was once following Tutti in the forest, and she was sitting in a tree with her hand up on her head, very slowly moving. And then she went to this tree with the little pink flowers, and she grabbed them, ate the flowers, and sat there. And after about half an hour, she started moving, collecting fruits, building a nest. And a month later, I was in the jungle, and I had a horrible headache, and I didn't have anything with me, so I thought, what the heck, I'll try that. And within 15 minutes, no more headache. Nobody ever knew that in the family of the legumes there are analgesic compounds. The orangutans do know. They also know that when they have a stomachache, they can eat the charcoal, and that they have other medicines for parasites and for fever. The survival skills out there in nature are truly incredible. And we also tend to think that these people out there need to learn from the developed world. Well, I tend to disagree. It's exactly the local people that have most know-how. What I learned in university is basically how to do research, not how to get to the facts and to the knowledge and to the interactions in a know-how. Local people live in balance with their environment. This is a little village along a river which shows typically how the Dayak people have lived. They did slash and burn agriculture, but they moved around, and it was not at random. So every time they cut a field, after that they leave it for 8 years, and the trees with their deep roots will bring new nutrients to the surface and restore the fertility. And only after 8 years they will start the cycle again. And then every 80 years they move the whole village to a new place. But if people are now doing that, they get into conflict because there's already a concession. The forest has already been claimed by big companies, so they tend to stay in one place, and now they have chainsaws. In the past, people would have to think very carefully. Look, here's this big forest. There's Antiaris toxicara tree, the poison dart tree. That might mean that the soil is good, so let's go. There's the grass with the triangular stem. Okay, let me stick my knife in the soil. There's where the clay particles stick. This is soil where I can plant my rice. But how many trees are there? Oh, I'm going to need at least 5 people with 5 axes. That's going to cost me 2 weeks. And then I need so many bags of seeds, and I'm going to get so many bags back. There's this whole economic thinking behind it. There's the whole ecological assessment. But people think, no, they're just cutting down the forest and burn it. No such thing. It's only now, in the modern times, that it has become too easy and the people cannot move that village anymore, that it's no longer sustainable. And then you lose the nutrients in the soil and you end up with greater poverty than before, and these vast grasslands without any soil fertility, without any biodiversity, without any climate function, water regulation function, no income whatsoever. We have 28 million hectares of this type of land in my country, in Indonesia. And then people say, well, let's rehabilitate it. Let's make big reforestation projects. But they do monocultures, which are extremely sensitive to pests and diseases and to fires. So they are not a real solution. Now we're coming up, guys, let's make biofuel, oil palms. But you are totally denuding the land in order to plant those palms, and then you're going to put in 1,760 kilograms of fertilizer every year on every hectare in order to create that so-called sustainable fuel. This is not sustainability. This is creating biological deserts with a very low job opportunity. And now people are even going into the peat swamps. Those are the layers of organic material, peat, that contain about 30% of all the terrestrial carbon in this earth. And once you open that, they turn into giant compost heaps that evaporate into the sky. These are one of the biggest contributors to global warming. And those are the last habitats of the orangutans. And when those forests start burning, it is not just the orangutans that are paying the price. That smoke goes all around the earth. And the particles that deposit on the glaciers and on the ice caps are now the second largest cause, together with the use of biomass in cooking. 60% of the world's population still cooks with biomass, which is now the second largest cause of global warming. And there are huge economic impacts and health impacts for all the people. Orangutans, indeed, they lose their life, they lose their vision, like this one, burned into the flames coming out. But for the local people, the argument, we are creating jobs for the local people here, it's not true. It's only 0.12 jobs, and it's only the worst paid, very unskilled jobs. And even this process is at the moment being mechanized. So people have given up their land rights in order to bring in those oil palms and create those jobs. But what is going to happen in a couple of years when efficiency needs to be implemented to stay competitive, and all those people who are now in the meantime used to a little bit higher standard of living, what are they going to do? They're going increasingly fast to cut down the rest of the forest because it's the only thing that they will have left. So we are not on the right path. So let's talk about the tree of life. These graphics don't come out so nicely now. The tree of life, if you look at the traditional people like this looks like a natural forest, but the Dayaks call it lembo. It comes from the Dutch word landbouw, which means agriculture. This is a man-made forest. It's one of the most productive systems that you can find along some parts of the rivers in East Kalimantan. And people think that is the jungle. But these forests are the most useful to the local people. They have been carefully planned and designed. So the local Dayaks actually know how to work in a better way, because the present-day agriculture is truly wasting sunlight. You have a crop that you plant on an empty piece of land. The crop, like corn or sugarcane, has to grow up for many, many months, and then in the last few weeks of its existence, it will fill up the corn cobs, it will fill up some sugar in the stem, and that's what you harvest then. So all the previous time could not be harvested, but with a sugar palm, this is a very, very exciting tree. This is the champion of photosynthesis. You don't need to harvest any organs. All that you do is on a daily basis collect the water and the sugar. And the sugar is the result of carbon dioxide being combined with water and a little bit of sunlight, so that this temporary solar radiation is transferred into a stable chemical form of energy that you can bring into any place in the world. And without harvesting organs, without removing nutrients, because you tap the trees twice a day. And this creates 20 times more jobs and still produces a huge amount of energy in the order of 82 barrels of oil per hectare per year, which is huge. And the great thing is, this cannot be mechanized, because you need to know more than 60 different things in order to tap this tree. So I compared the output per tree from people that had been tapping for 10 years and 20 years. Even after that 20 years, they produce a lot more per tree than the people that have been tapping for 10 years. So this is something where we can help the local communities find jobs. And at the same time, while they need all this extra labor, which is inefficient in the modern agriculture, we still, because of that huge production, can have a feasible economical system. So this is a sugar palm forest. It's a mixed forest that produces more than 20 tons of sugar, which is already now more than the highest sugar production ever achieved with sugarcane in the world in Cali, in Colombia, which is 18 tons of sugar. But that's only in the short time span. This is a mixed forest with more than 50 different other crops in it that can provide a permanent income. If you go for the oil palm, you are creating biological deserts. But with a sugar palm forest, you are creating a forest that can make optimal use of the light, can regulate the climate, can store carbon dioxide, can create security. Biodiversity means a greater stability of your ecosystem. And these sugar palms, with their very deep roots, you can plant them on the steepest of soil, so you don't conflict with agriculture. There's no food for energy conflict. Actually, because of those sugar palms growing on the steep slopes, you're improving the agriculture downstream. There's less flooding and there is more water flowing in the dry season. And the sugar palms produce 60 other kinds of products, including the sugary juice and then the fruits, the starch and the honey. All of these are food products. So you actually create food security while securing a sustainable source of biofuel. On top of that, I did a research, and there were 892 people in our village that we interviewed the rest of the family and analyzed those people that had used palm sugar and those people that had used white sugar. Turns out that the people that use palm sugar live 10 years longer. So this is truly a tree of life, which reduces the occurrence of diabetes and heart and coronary diseases. In China, you have at the moment 100 million diabetes sufferers. And with the increasing improvement in the economy, this number is going to increase further. So this tree can do a lot by producing a healthy product that can help not only the environment, but can also help the local people. And that we have tried to develop by setting up social systems, by cooperatives, in which a leader cannot be elected for 2 periods. It cannot be his son or daughter taking over the leadership, which has to have transparent auditing principles. We set up that system based upon a permanent harvesting system for the sugar palms in Indonesia, in North Sulawesi. And the system is very good and can be transferred to other places, but not in the way oil palms are done. And that is the main reason why nobody actually ever did it. Because where do you find the sugar palms? Only in mixed shrub forest. Where do you find shrub forest? That is the forest that results from slash and burn agriculture. It is owned by local people. And the big companies like to have total control over large areas, or they want to have a concession in a virgin rainforest. Well, the sugar palm doesn't grow in a virgin rainforest. It dies after 72 leaves. So it can never reach the upper canopy, never reach the light, never flower. So it can only grow where the local people are. So you have to work with them, and you have to make more complicated systems. If you plant them in the open, like here in the monoculture, they don't grow. Plant them at different distances from the forest edge, the closer to the trees, where all these microorganisms of the trees can help the sugar palms as well, only then they will grow well. So a biodiverse forest is much more resilient. It doesn't burn that quickly. It provides more sources of income, and it has a much higher productivity because all the light is captured underneath in a forest. It's dark, it's cool because all that sunlight has been caught. It stores all the carbon dioxide in the biomass and provides so many different products, creates more jobs and preserves the soil fertility, and it's really nature's way. So if we want to do what nature does, we also need to think, how can we create systems to do the planting of the sugar palms in a way that we create these multi-layered biodiverse systems and that still provide income for the people. And you can design such systems that from the first planting you do in these grasslands, that you can restore systems in combination, like the sugar palms, there's teak trees, there's bananas, there's rubber trees, there's pineapple. So in every stage of the reforestation, there's something useful coming out, and you recreate a forest in this way. So you can monitor this quite easily, and you can do it on larger areas. Let's have a look a little bit more on the global scale. These sugar palms can grow up to 2,000-meter altitude on virtually any kind of soil type, as long as there's 750 millimeters of rain. And even here in Hong Kong, you can grow them. So the Kaduri farm will be planting 20 hectares of sugar palms, which will be enough to provide for all their energy needs, the electricity and the heating and their transportation fuel. That potential could fuel the world. And the sugar palm is truly a champion of photosynthesis, but the juice ferments instantly the moment it comes out of the tree. So the only way to preserve it has been to boil the juice, and then you need 1.3 kilograms of wood in order to boil 1 liter of juice. In the end, the whole environment is destroyed because you need all that biomass. So this is a tool, a mini factory that I invented, and it's called the Village Hub, basically working the way that nature works. And I set up this first factory with those 6,000 farmers you saw before, and I tried to miniaturize it. In the process, we try to use everything that is output from one process becoming the input of the next one. So what we do is the sugary juice, we put it in the factory, in the forest, in the village, close to the trees, and then we process the juice right there into 2 streams. One stream goes to a fermenter. We make beer, wine out of it, and we distill it, and that ethanol runs a generator, produces electricity for the factory and for the local people, but the heat is used to run the distillation. At the same time, the fermenter, the CO2, goes through a fish pond. This animation doesn't run, sorry, it's an Apple system. And no, I should have done it in another one. So the basic thing is the factory works like nature does. Nature doesn't know the concept of waste, so it's an integrated unit that you can bring to any place, and that brings a lot of products to the local people. You put in the juice, and you put in some yeast, and you have some people guarding it. And for the local people, a range of benefits comes out of it. Drinking water, fuel, electricity, they get internet connection for communication, banking services, they get cattle feed out of the yeast. There's no waste, and still investors can get a very good income from the surplus flow of energy in the form of sugar. So nature has worked long and in very diverse ways to come up with real solutions. We humans tend to think, okay, here's algae, okay, here's biofuel from oil palm. We tend to think that a single aspect can solve all the problems, but it's not. And I think we should really go back to see what the local people know, and orangutans, that we can use and that we can benefit from. We have to realize fossil sunlight is running out. We have to go to today's capture of sunshine energy in order to make this planet livable. So technology is important, yes, all these wonderful inventions, but we need to apply this technology in an integrated way that is both ecologically sound and socially acceptable. So I think we still have time to make a change for this world. Thank you.